up a dive. Feel the vibe, get ready to ignite. Untold stories in the airways, flying through the night. Experience voices, tales so bold. Streaming live, the truth unfolds. Untold Radio Network, where secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's so I remember right. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can't hide. Aliens in the attic, UFOs in the sky. Cryptids lurking, oh my, oh my. Ghosts in the hallway, whispering your name. The paranormal, the unexplained. Become a VIP, get the inside scoop. Unlock the mysteries, be part of the group. Live streaming stories, they're talking to you. Super chats buzzing, join the crew. Untold Radio Network, the secrets come alive. New episodes daily, the mysteries thrive. Great guests, super chat, it's a wild member ride. Share and subscribe, join the side where truth can hide. So if you've got the guts and you want to explore, tune into the untold, it's what you're looking for. From aliens to ghosts and all that's unseen. Untold Radio Network, where the world's mysteries convene.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Paranormal Spectrum here on the Untold Radio Network. I am your host, Barnaby Jones of Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. Today, we have an awesome guest on the show. A lot of you that are familiar with both of my shows should have seen her name several times pop up in the comments section, as well as today, already off and running over there as well. I was so worried because I didn't get my normal good morning, good Thursday, good Monday from Leigh in the comments section. That's because she's backstage right now. So you guys get to finally put a face with the name of Leigh Warner, who is on many of our shows as my backstage, unofficial, official research and fact finder of my shows. But she is here with us to share all of the stuff that comes up here. There's my good morning. All right, guys, we are going to kick things off here with something we haven't talked about for a while. Caps merchandise. That's right, guys. WisconsinCaps.com. Click on the Shop Our Store link and head on over to tpublic.com. You can find merchandise with all of our logos on it. And the reason I bring this up today is they have hats now. That's right. You want to get a hat with our logo on it? Finally, TeePublic has introduced hats. That's right. They're kind of like trucker hats, so they're not like form-fitted or anything, but still really cool. So you can get some of those. A few of our logos are available on tpublic.com/user/Wisconsin Caps, and you can get caps. That's right. And sometimes they have this stuff on sale. You can get $16 shirts. Go check that out and watch for stuff go on sale, because really good deal when it does. All right, guys, coming up, we are going to be at the Cryptids, Anomalies, and Paranormal Convention in Appleton, May 10th. It is going to be a great event. It's going to be Stacy Brown Jr., Miranda Young, Scott and Hannah Violet, Chad Lewis, Angela Zabel will be doing a psychic gallery reading that evening. Myself, Keg, Rick, and Barbara will be doing a panel from My Haunted Hometown, the TV series that we were all a part of last year. Going to be a great time. Plus the premiere of the Wisconsin Caps documentary, The Hairy Man of Dairyland, Wisconsin's Bigfoot. If you guys can't make it out in person, you can also get virtual tickets for just $5. You can tune in and watch all of our speakers from that day live or at your convenience. Coming up after that, June 7th, we are going to be in Chicago for the Chicago Paranormal Convention. I am going to be in Lodi, Wisconsin at the library in June. July, I will be in Cedarburg at the library. I will be in Elmwood, Wisconsin for UFO Days this year doing a presentation. More information coming later. I'm going to be at SilCon in Chicago, Gaze, Illinois for that event, sil-con.com. I'm going to be speaking at the Van Meter Visitor Festival in Van Meter, Iowa in September. And the Neenah Public Library this year again in October 29th. This one's going to be a really cool library event. We're also going to be doing a paranormal investigation at the library. So that's going to be really fun. Make sure you guys come out and check that one out if you can. There we go. That is what's coming up with me. So hopefully you guys can come out and check out some of that stuff. Leigh is harassing people in the comments section. What's going on? I don't know what's going on. All right. So without any further ado, what have I got to do here? Let us introduce our guest. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live today. So if you have any questions for Leigh, she will be joining us here in just a second to answer all of your wonderful questions in person on the show. Long-time listener, first-time caller, Leigh Warner has been interested in the supernatural for most of her life. From and currently living in Wisconsin, Leigh has also lived in Florida, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Tennessee as a staff sergeant in the United States Air Force and flying on the, she told me how to pronounce this, I already forgot, Leigh, drink. AWACS. Leigh has had many opportunities to travel to different countries and visited most states in the United States. With a desire to learn and the gift of discernment, Leigh has found she cannot easily explain away a series of events that happened to her as a small child living in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Leigh is here today to tell her story and provide insights to her understanding of what happened way back when. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time, please welcome to the show, Leigh Warner.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
I screwed up your thing. So
That's okay. This is my friend Octo.
Awesome.
Someone who joins me in the chats a lot is Octopus with no friends. I've had this octopus for many years, and I just wanted to surprise Octo with an octopus on air. So, and that is pronounced AWACS. It's for
AWACS. There we go.
He jumped.
Awesome. Octopus with no friends says the gift of discernment. That's how I see my set of gifts too. There you go.
Yep.
Bonding over the octopus.
Oh, and look what I have. I have a cap.
My hat. Cap's cap.
Cap's cap.
Awesome. Those were from a different batch, not from
Nope.
T-Public. T-Public are trucker hats. That's
it's a nice all form fitted.
Very nice. Very nice.
They are.
It's like my black one I have here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Leigh, I am super excited. I have known you now for a couple years. We have gone Bigfooting together. We have done all kinds of stuff, all kinds of conventions and that. But we have never discussed your history. And I know that you were just on Resnick and Christina's show, sharing it as well for people that are interested. Red Road Paranormal.
Yep.
Christina is an associate of the CAPS team, and Rez is a member of the CAPS team. You can go check out their podcast as well. Links are on our website, wisconsincaps.com. But I haven't listened to the episode because I knew that you were coming on here, and I wanted to experience it for the first time with all of our listeners here. So, Leigh, you have lived a very strange life, as I'm sure that just this I know just from the comments and questions that have come from the comments section over here. So I am super excited. I will let you take it away. Where do you want to start off here?
Well, I was a small child in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. No. So I and I was. Um, I lived on 93rd and West Dixon Street, which is right behind Cannon Park and about an even walk between the Wisconsin State Fairgrounds and the Milwaukee County Zoo. Um, I was born there and I lived there until about fourth grade. It's right next to the freeway, but there was woods behind us and a big field, and there was also a power transfer station that was behind our house. When I was young, and I'm talking under 5 years old, maybe 2, 3 years old, I used to have these dreams that scared me. And it was basically, now that I'm older and hearing other people's stories, it was alien abduction dreams, which I truly feel that that was what was happening at that time. I and this happened throughout my time living there. Um, very young, I had a dream that I was on a gurney table and that above me was steel and it was moving, but I couldn't move. So I was like in a tunnel. It was a curved roof and I was in a tunnel being moved, um, which we have a laundry chute in that house and it was galvanized steel. So I was always afraid of the galvanized steel laundry chute for no reason but it reminded me of that. And I remember just as well now these dreams, being this old now than when I was little, and I would tell my mom and my dad and my sisters about my dreams that I had. Um, there was another time where I went in the basement and I remembered what I called them at the time because I had no reference. I called them motorcycle men. I said there was 3 motorcycle men in the basement, and what it was 3 very small figures that were all looked like they were almost all in leather, the same color, with big heads. And, I the only reference I had at that time was people who rode motorcycles with helmets on had big heads. So, there was that, and I remember going down there, they were standing around, and I saw them, and then I don't remember anything after that. Um, we also had I was a little bit older, and I was in the field next to our house with, my sister's dog, and in the sky, I saw a bright light, and it was beeping, it was going beep, 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 and I fell to the ground, and I couldn't move, and told the dog to run so they don't get you. Um, Also in the dreams, I remember I am waking up at, 84th and Blue Mound Road, and we had to walk home. There was also another time that, in the house, we had behind the closets, we had eaves, and we would go hide in there, and one time, I was bringing my Barbie case with me, and it, like, spilled open right in front of the door, and my sister yelled at me, "Now they're gonna find where we're hiding." Um, I've asked my sisters since if they remember anything about being abducted or anything as kids, and they said, "No, but we remember you talking about it all the time." Um, and then in October of, I think, '73 or '74 is when they first aired the Betty and Barney Hill story on TV, and it was shortly after the dream that I had about falling in the field and that the light was coming towards me and I couldn't move. And we were back in those days in the early '70s, you had 1 TV and 3, 4 TV stations. So the whole family was sitting in front of the TV watching this, and um, in the Betty and Barney Hill story, the way they portrayed it was there was a light coming towards them, and it was making a noise, beep, 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 and I started freaking out. I started screaming, and my parents were like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "That's the same noise the light made in my dream," you know. And I also had physical things happen to me when I was in 2nd grade. I had a nosebleed that wouldn't wouldn't stop, and it finally clotted. It was in my right nostril, and I had to go to the doctor for it, and he took out the clot, and he looked up there, and he said I had an like a big, pretty sizable cut, and that he had to cauterize it. And my mom was like, "Oh, it's because she's picking her nose," and the doctor's like, "No, she can't reach up there. Even if she shoved something up there, I doubt she could reach it." Um, so that was the physical evidence that I had as a kid. Um, I also, even to this day, if it's sorta like a cross between an airplane and a helicopter noise, if I hear that, I tense up and, like, I grab onto something because it's like it must be the noise that I heard when they were coming to get us, because I would grab onto something and be like, "I don't wanna be taken." So, there's, those experiences that I had. We lived, like I said, there was a huge power transformation station behind our house, and, older, you hear about UFOs and stuff being associated with those. I don't ever remember seeing, except for the one where I, fell to the ground and couldn't move at night. I don't ever remember seeing anything out there during the day. Um, and we were outside all the time. We never were inside. And in 4th grade, after the first semester or the first quarter of school, we moved from Milwaukee to the town of South Milwaukee, where we no longer lived by that power transformation statement or station. And I never really had a dream or an experience after that
Hmm.
that I remember. So I do think it was associated with living in that area. Um, but yeah, I mean, they're dreams, but I remember them just as clearly now as I did when I was little. Um, you know, most people don't do that, or at least I don't think, I'm assuming that. I don't remember my other dreams I had really that much, except for me and my sisters used to go flying together. I remember those dreams pretty well. Um, so yeah, so I had those, um, those experiences. And I have thought about, maybe doing regression therapy about it, and I was thought about it once, and I was just like, "Do I really wanna know what they really did to me?" And then, I have been trying to listen to my spirit guides and stuff more, and I have gotten very clear, distinct messages like, "Go in grace, leave it behind." So one thing that my message is it's okay that I don't know. Um, And for others who are experiencers that had worse things happen to them or that they remember more, it's like it's in the past. You can't change what happened. So just, go at grace, forgive, and try to move forward with what's happening.
Interesting. So I want to clear some stuff up here because the basement situation that you had, the little motorcycle guys, that was a dream as well, or did you
Yep.
actually see them? Okay, so
No,
all
they were
these
all I remember them all as dreams that happened,
Okay.
but did I really
Right.
go in the
Yeah.
basement and did that really happen? And when I woke up the next morning, it was put in my mind as a dream as opposed
Mhm.
to it really happened, because it was like I surprised them. I remember
Mm.
I came down the stairs and I was little and I saw them, and I saw them and they were sort of standing around talking, and they sort of looked at me, and then I woke up the next morning. So,
Interesting. No, I see the reason I kind of focus it on that one. You're like, I know you've been in the comments a lot and people that listen to the show. We've kind of had discussions with other guests
mhm.
from the comment section about a lot of the stuff that's very similar with other stories and stuff. But I've never heard of anything described like that with like dressed in leather. You always hear like a skin tight like metallic suit or
Yeah.
like a jumpsuit or something.
Yeah. Well, I was like 3 years old, so I didn't really have much experience. I didn't know anything about, aliens or
Mhm.
UFOs or anything like that when I was little. So what my 4-year-old mind was, when I saw them, it's like they were all in this material that sort of looked like leather, but it was all one suit. And that was the best way I could describe what I saw was, you know, the motorcycle men, because, all dressed in all leather or dressed in all in the same color with big heads, the size of helmets.
So what color was it? Do you remember?
I think it was a dark gray.
Okay. Hey, was it all one suit? Did it look like, or was it like a two-piece suit or something?
No, it was all one suit.
Okay, so it was the standard like jumpsuit that we hear a lot
Yeah. Yes, it was. But at 4 years old,
Right.
I didn't know what a one-piece jumpsuit was.
That's fair. That's fair. And I kind of like that because when you're younger, you're less biased. So
Mhm.
what you're remembering is the way you saw it. Like how we talk about, the cave drawings and the native tribes and stuff. We always hear on my show I talk about that they draw what they see. They remember
Mhm.
what they see. That's their experience. And I think that's important when you have a younger mind or a younger child or something that experiences something. They're more pure, more unbiased by the world around them. It's interesting. And then your other comment about your sister saying now they're going to find us. Do you think that was like sarcastic to you, like
No,
making
she was yelling at me like she was scared because
interesting?
I dropped the Barbie case right in front of the door of where we were gonna go hide, and that they're gonna find us because that's sitting there right in front of where we normally hide. Yeah, space pleather bodysuits.
These are the sexy aliens.
Also to prevent, from mosquito bites.
Yes, yes, very true. Interesting. So I like the power station as well. You make a good point
Mhm.
there. I
And
am
you could
I'm
always hear a hum from it too. It made noise.
right. Now
It
that's not the same hum kind of sound that like triggers you.
No, it's not at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a combination between a helicopter and a two-prop airplane is the noise that triggers me, so
Hmm. This hasn't been publicly released, I don't think. It may be in the Hide and Adventure book, but it's not out on an episode yet. That when Barbara post from
Mhm.
my team first went to the Hayden adventure, when she first went there, we were sitting at base camp and we heard this weird, what I would consider like a phone vibrating hum, kind of kind of, but
Mm.
like a mix between that and like an ATV going by. And it was really weird because it repeated. You could tell it would start, over here in the east, and it would move from east to west, and it would get just so far and it would stop, and then it would start over from the east and it would go all the way across and it would stop. And there is a road in that direction,
But
but
it's pretty far away.
it's a dead end road, so the chances of multiple cars going from east to west in that time frame is very unlikely, being there was only one house past the Salk property there. So when you bring up that point, I'm wondering, like, if that, I don't know, if that kind of is the same kind of sound or whatever that you were hearing, because we've never heard anything like that before, but it's that humming kind of vibrating
Yeah.
sound.
And and Doug Hychek is also talking about the hummingbird hum too,
Mhm.
you know. So and I have heard other people mention that without knowing about Doug Hychek researching that on other podcasts and stuff. So
Interesting.
yeah. And when I was out at the Hayden adventure
Drink.
last year,
You always yell at me. We're gonna
yeah.
get you back.
Okay, everybody else drink. It's the Barnaby Jones drinking game. Um, and yes, I do give him a hard time about it.
Every week. Yes.
Um, but I was walking back with Bobby Resnick Calkins, and we heard it. We heard the hum.
Really?
Yeah,
Huh. I didn't know that.
yeah. Well, you're already out by the road by then. It's
Yeah,
when
you
it
would
was
have been the
very
second group out.
yeah. Well, and I was helping Rez carry a torch, so I think we were the last ones leaving, as a matter of fact. So, but
Was
yeah,
it
it was like for 2 seconds long, but we heard it.
from the direction of the road as well?
No, it was so we were walking towards the road and it was to our right.
Okay. Well, see, there is another, that's the main road over there, but like I said, Hayden's on a dead end road. So
Yeah.
there's no, for as much as we heard that sound that night, there's no reason why that many vehicles, ATVs, anything would have been going in that direction at that time. So
Yeah, unless it was the night of the Bigfoot walk. There were that many cars there. No.
right. That is true. That is true.
Yeah. The next day I saw Barbara. I was like, "Oh, I saw your house." And she's like, "How did you know it was my house?" I was like, "Your name's on the mailbox."
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep.
So, and
Very nice.
then so after we moved to South Milwaukee, there has been several times where I have seen things in the night sky. One time I was out there. I was in high school because I was out with my boyfriend at the time, and we were looking up in the sky, and we saw what we thought was a satellite. You know how they just go in one direction
Mhm.
and go at a certain speed, but also and I was when I pointed it out to him, he saw it, and then it sort of stopped. It went zigzag back and forth really fast, and then it went off. And I was just like, "Oh, I don't think that was a satellite."
Hmm.
Hmm.
Interesting.
And then I was on April 5th, first contact day, I went to the CE5 outing in Adams, Wisconsin, and we were there. And I'll let Barnaby explain the CE5 if people don't know. But you go there and you ask for interaction, friendly interaction, with an open heart. And every time we saw a satellite or anything, we'd point it out to each other, and most of the satellites were going from one way to the other, and then we saw one coming up this way. I was like, "Oh, look, there's a satellite." And then we were sort of looking at it, and it got really bright for about a second and a half. And then it went back down, and then it moved a little bit more, and then it just faded away.
Hmm.
And then out camping, I've seen some low flying lights that weren't airplanes and stuff, but there wasn't, it just flew over. It wasn't interaction or anything like that. And I say before, so I was in the Air Force and I was on AWACS, and it was my job to identify airplanes in the sky. So I do know what an airplane flying at night looks like. So it wasn't an airplane. It didn't make any noise. So those are the main times that I've seen things flying in the sky. There's another one where it was during the day leading up, and I actually did take a video of that. So I don't know if you want to show that.
You sure can.
Do you see it over there?
Oh, cut the volume.
Oh, I didn't. You can actually hear it?
No, you can't hear it.
Oh.
But you don't. People don't want to hear me and my friend talking. So, but this is it. It was it was on my phone, so I was holding it, but it was very shiny, and it was sort of flitting back and forth, and I sort of thought it was a balloon, but it doesn't go up or down. It just stays in a solid path across the sky.
So being in the Air Force, like you said, you kind of have an idea of airplanes and stuff like that. How
Yeah.
fast do you think this thing was moving?
Not very fast at all. This is real time.
Right.
And you can sort of see the tree above it. So, and it, it was a good ways up in the sky. And
Now you even in the video and stuff that people can't hear right now, but you talk about it being a balloon. And I was recently listening to a podcast talking about the Skywatchers stuff. And they said, well, maybe the stuff that you're filming is balloons or something like that. And they said, well, what are the odds that you're catching that many balloons? Like, let's say you go out into an average area and you stand out there for, all hours of the day. How many days is it going to take you before you watch a balloon fly over your head?
mhm.
It's everyone wants to write these things off as balloons, and if you're around Disney World or a theme park or something where little kids
Yeah.
lose their balloons quite often and stuff, but what are the odds of actually seeing this many balloons over your
Yeah.
head if you're
And it
not
was solid
in that area?
solid silver. There wasn't any writing on it. I could see that it was a solid silver color, and it was during the middle of the day. I happened to be outside with my dogs on my break from work, and I live in Horicon, Wisconsin. There is the Dodge County Airport, but there wasn't any noise. It wasn't an airplane.
It doesn't look like any lights flashing on it either.
No lights flashing, no
it's
nothing
really
like that. Yeah. So that was, the one time I actually caught something on camera. I was up in Escanaba, and we were doing a retreat up there, and again, we sort of did the CE5 protocol where we asked for something to come and visit us, and to be friendly, that we welcome you and stuff like that. And that was a 3-day event. We were there. It was Sunday afternoon, and we're just all sitting around the fire. None of us have our phones, and out of the corner of my eye, it's tic-tac shape, but silver. I see something coming over the tree line going across the Escanaba River, and I was like, okay, does anybody else see this? And everybody else, the people who weren't sitting next to me, turned around and looked. They're like, what is that? And it was flying pretty low, no noise, no nothing. And my friend Coral ran up to Rez. Rez was there. Rez and Tammy were there. And by the time Rez got his phone out, it was gone. But it traveled from the whole, went pretty much straight over us, didn't move, and it was far enough away we couldn't make out. We could make out the shape of it, and then it was all silver, but we couldn't like see any lights or anything. But it was pretty low in the sky, so I don't think there was light or any windows or anything on it. It was just a solid, capsule shaped object moving across the sky. So there was 7 of us that saw that day.
Mhm.
And this reminds me a lot of it, except the one that flew over us wasn't flittering. It was
And
solid.
you don't hear anything with them either, with either
No.
of these. Like I don't know how far away like this video was, but if you can listen to it with the sound on, there's no engine sounds. Like I've worked outside a place here in Neenah, and it was right in the air traffic space. And, every time a plane would go over, you would hear it, even coming from, they come from Oshkosh and go over towards Appleton Airport. And you could hear them. You could hear them coming from, several miles away, all the way over. So I'm pretty familiar with, airplanes and stuff and the sound and that.
Yeah.
And for being as close as you seem to be in this video to this, you should see lights. You should hear something. So
It was flying probably about 2 blocks over from me, but it was low enough where I saw it, I mean, I was outside and I was like, what is that? I ran in and got my phone and, was holding my phone for it. And then my friend who was living here at the time, she was like, what is it? I'm like, it's a UFO. So she comes running out too. And we're just like, what is that? I'm like, I don't know what it is. I'm like, it's not maneuvering or anything, but.
Yeah, I mean, it is a UFO. You don't know what it is. It's an unidentified flying object and or hovering
or floating object.
Unidentified floating object. There you go. Didn't know. Interesting. Anybody in the comments have any questions or comments about the video? Anybody, what do you guys think it is? Any questions for Leigh as we get forward here? So, you've talked a lot in the comments about like some of the other stuff that you're working on. Like you've started taking other people's courses of mediumship and stuff like that. So did all this start from your childhood? Do you think that that's what triggered you to be interested in all this, or why have you spent so much time in these topics?
Yeah. So one of the things that with my my gift of discernment, which I believe, comes from the Holy Spirit, is a lot of the things that I've noticed, even though Barnaby is positive, a lot of people that have had abduction stories are O negative. Not everybody is, but there are a lot of people that are O negative. And I have freaked out Barney's other guests. They're like, how does she know I'm O negative? It's like, it's just one of those things that a lot of people are. So when I was 13 living in South Milwaukee, I then started having dreams about airplanes crashing and then it didn't happen all the time. It happened frequently enough. And then so I remember I had this one dream about an airplane crashing, and then one crashed a couple weeks later at General Mitchell Airport. That was probably in 1982 or 83. And then I noticed it more. I had moved to New Smyrna Beach, Florida, and I had noticed it more down there where I would, and because it felt different. The dream, it wasn't a normal dream. I would like wake up and I knew it was different. And how do I know it's different? I don't know. It's just when you have a dream that's not really a dream, it just feels different. And that just happened a lot. I would have a dream about an airplane crashing, and one would crash within a week or two. When I was um, I was just out late with friends from work. We were actually at a place drinking coffee, and I was driving home, and it was really like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and I was driving home in a dark part of A1A between Daytona and New Smyrna Beach. I saw this really bright light coming up behind me, and the right side of my body felt unprotected, and it was so unnerving that I pulled over and I yelled, "Stop it!" And then it went away. I had the next day off, and by this time I probably had dozens of other dreams about airplanes crashing, and it came to fruition. And then I had slept in, and when I woke up, I turned on the TV, and they were talking about the shuttle crashing, the first one, Challenger.
Mm.
And as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, that's what that was about. And so yeah, I mean, like one was even so I always Lou Diamond Phillips I associate with La Bamba, and the guy from La Bamba died in an airplane crash. I had one dream where I was at the corner gas station for my house as a child, and I saw Lou Diamond Phillips there. And I woke up and I was like, I knew it. I was like, oh, that's one of those type of dreams. I'm like, what's going on? And then within a week, and it was in a different country, but an airplane crashed into a gas station.
Mm.
So that happened. And then I joined the Air Force.
I was gonna
And
say, so you have all these dreams about, aliens and airplanes crashing. So of course you joined the Air Force. So
of
yeah,
course I do.
that's natural.
And thank you, God. When I was in the Air Force, I didn't have any of those dreams. So because I wouldn't have been, because I flew in the
Yeah.
Air Force, that's what my job was. And I wouldn't have been able to explain why I can't fly that day. Well, I had this dream an airplane was going to crash. It's like, no, that doesn't work. But luckily, for when I was in the Air Force, I didn't have any of those prophetic. I can't talk.
Yeah.
I didn't have any of those dreams, so that was good. And then I was in the Air Force for like 12 years, and when I had gotten out, about a year or two after that, I had a dream about the shuttle again. It was in the beginning of the $6 Million Man. The part of the clip is a real footage of a test plane crashing and rolling. Go watch a $6 Million Man. But anyways, so that's what my dream was. I saw pretty much that footage, but different. It was in the air, and I had told my ex-husband at the time, and my mother-in-law, who my mother-in-law knew about my other airplane dreams because we talk, and I had told her about it, and then my sister. About a week later, my sister called me up and said, "So did you have a dream about the shuttle crashing?" I was like, "Yeah." She's like, "It crashed, right?" And it pretty much disintegrated on landing coming in. So I really saw that happening. And then it was another 10 years before I had another. This time it was a waking one. It was last June. Again, I went out on my work break, and I was standing on my back deck, and I saw very low in the sky, and I was fully awake for this. I saw it was a white airplane with like a yellow swipe on it. The landing gear was down, and it was flying really low. And I was just like, and I knew, again, you just have this feeling. I knew it wasn't real, or it wasn't something really in the air. I knew it was something prophetic. And then now there's Facebook. So I sat with it for a while, and I said, what the heck? I'm going to post on Facebook. So I posted about an hour after I saw it. I just posted, white airplane flying in a southwest direction. Landing gear was down, yellow stripe on it. Is pretty much what what I posted. And I had a couple people respond, "What is that? What are you talking about?" And my first response was, "Well, if you ever sat around a campfire with me, you know what I'm talking about." Because I wanted to have proof of what I
Right.
saw.
Timestamp proof. Yeah.
A timestamp proof. Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you,
Mhm.
Barnaby. And then
What I'm here for.
and about a week and a half later, someone, because it popped up again in my feed, someone said, "Did anything happen with that?" And I was like, "I don't know, I didn't check." And I went and checked, and the very next day, down in Brazil or someplace in South America, an airplane crashed with a bunch of like doctors and stuff on it, and they showed a picture of it. It was a white airplane with a yellow swoop on it. And it was the very next day. So almost 24 hours. So, and then I did not dream about the helicopter hitting the airplane, but again, it wasn't a dream. But I remember I was talking to someone, and and the person asked me, and I can't remember who I was talking to, said, "Well, what about the one that hit the building?" And then a couple days later, after I talked in my mind, talked to this person, the airplane hit the building with it. So I've asked some of my friends that who are psychics and what that was about. And because I always had said, it's the most useless psychic gift ever. An airplane's going to crash,
Mhm.
But they had told me, more than one person told me, it's sort of one of my jobs is that I am to help the people that are scared in that moment and help them pass over, and not to stay in the moment of the airplane crashing, or to not be there at all, because I'm having this before it happens. So I'm like taking away, so the person's not stuck in an airplane
Mhm.
crashing as their death, that they can move on. So I've been told that. And I've had other affirmations. I was told that um, I was basically told in one of my, because I can sometimes, when I'm coming out of sleep, I can sometimes hear things. I've heard my name be called before, but I was told it's like, okay, your name is now, and then this name that's associated with it. So, and yeah. Oh, there's my kitty.
I hear
Um,
that.
that would be Tristan. But so I don't have that a lot anymore, but I've come to peace with it. I'm like, "Oh my, thank you. I have a purpose. I'm there to, to free the souls that would otherwise be stuck there." And so it doesn't happen with every plane crash, but it only happens when someone's going to be stuck in that moment to help them move on. So,
Interesting. That's something we don't like. I haven't had on the show very often is like mediums and psychics and stuff with premonitions.
yeah.
Like the prophetic dreams and stuff like you're talking about. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I've had one person on kind of talk about that before, but I don't hear too much about that. So.
Yeah. And well, one time when I was in Florida, I was on the beach at night, and I felt the ground shaking really bad underneath me. It wasn't from the tide going out or anything. And within a few days from that, there was a big earthquake in Mexico City. That was in the late 80s. So I was like, okay, that's, and it's when something happens, it's not a coincidence, it's associated. So you just get that feeling. And yeah, so I was like, okay. So maybe I helped with that to, help people move on without knowing what I was doing. But now when I have a dream like that, or if I know I consciously think about, it's like, okay, I need to be there and help for any soul so they're not stuck there, reliving that or going through that, being in the loop of an airplane crashing. So,
now that you mention that, have you read any of Nick Redfern's books?
No.
Okay. Nick Redfern has a book on, he probably has a few, but one of his books is about alien contactees and stuff like that. And in the
Doesn't
book,
Carter Boucher also have something like that? But sorry, I interrupted you. Yeah.
But anyway, Nick Redfern has a book, and he talks about his contactees after being contacted by aliens have premonition dreams.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that before too. From more than one person too.
Yeah. I'm sure. My specific references, I remember what you just said reminded me of reading his book about that. Mm-hmm. So that's interesting.
And so I think Carter Boucher, and I've read some parts of some of his books, but I think he talks about that too after his abduction, that he has the he can have prophetic dreams. Sorry.
Prophetic, I think.
Yeah.
I think. I gotta ask, nothing for 9/11? I mean, like, when I think about airplane disasters, you got the Challenger and you got the space shuttles, but I mean, that's got to be the top airplane related.
No, but I was in the Air Force then, and I wasn't having that type of stuff when I was in the Air Force. Yeah.
Do you think that you kind of mentally blocked this stuff out then, being what you were working on?
Yeah, or my spirit guides stopped it, because spirit guides, God, creator, because I wouldn't have been able to function.
No, yeah. How did you manage to even, like, what made you join the Air Force after having these dreams to begin with?
Well, I worked in Florida, and working and living in Florida, you can't make a lot of money. I mean, I was a manager of a picture frame store, and not fun living the paycheck to paycheck, but I mean, I lived a good life. It was just, and my sister, because I lived in Florida with my sister, I paid her rent and everything. I was an adult. But so one of her friends, her son had joined the Air Force, and she had went and saw him, and she was tired. And I always had thought about maybe joining the Air Force or the Navy. I mean, I was young. I was 20 or something. And she told me about how nice the dorms were and stuff, and I was like, you know what? I always thought about joining the Air Force. It's time for me to do something with my life. So, and this is funny. So my sister had went to a psychic fair in Ocala, Florida, and the psychic was talking to her about whatever, but the psychic said, "I see your sister working on an airplane in a uniform, but I don't know what kind of uniform." And this was like 3 years before I even thought about joining the Air Force. But so I wasn't happy, and I had switched jobs, and I was still picture framing, but I wasn't happy at the place I was at. So I started studying like the ASVAT thing, and then I took the test, and I did pretty well. I could have any job I wanted to in the Air Force. So the one I picked was to fly. So that's what I did.
Interesting.
And I loved being in the Air Force. And if you're thinking about joining the Air Force, please do. It's a great life.
I'm not, but we'll let that to the listeners if anyone out there is.
We'll let those youngins join.
As soon as I heard there was boot camps and stuff in the military, I'm like, nah, I'm not running and jumping and pushing up and sitting up. That's not for me.
Yeah. I was 20, 21. So yeah, I was a lot more fit back then. But the best one of the best things I ever did in the Air Force was because I flew, so I went to survival school. And my instructor, the one instructor, he was getting out. So this was his last team in the wild. And then the other instructor was going from the to sort of have like a faux POW camp in case you ever get shot down, and yeah, how to resistance training. But so it was his first time back out in the field. In our group, we had a great group. None of us got, because you do escape and evasion, and where they try to catch you, while you're trying to run away from the enemy. And nobody in my group got caught any of the days we were out in the field. And apparently the girl, that, because they always have a girl in the group, and the group before me was a butterball young lieutenant girl. And she was like, I need my own tent. And so the one instructor was like, so Airman Warner, do you need your own tent? And I was like, heck no, I'm sleeping right in the middle of all those men. So if a bear comes, they got to go through those guys before it gets to me. And, and I've been camping all my life. I'm an outdoors girl. And, like, all the questions that they would ask, I knew the answer. And, I was just like, hang on, I gotta go pee, and trump off in the little, woods, go pee behind a tree, come back. So they weren't, he wasn't quite used to having a girl in his group like me, because I thrived in survival school, but I had a good time. It was just a big camping adventure for me, so.
None of that surprises me, to be honest. So
And I found a 4-leaf clover when I was
Mhm.
out escaping and evading, and I found a shed. So I'm like, look what I found. I come back, look what I found. And they're just laughing at me. And then, like, they would assign tasks that night, like above and beyond what they ever expected anybody to ever do. And my group, which was great, we did them all, to include getting the rabbit hide ready for to be used. So we did that. I named the rabbit Stew because that's what he was going to be. And he's like, Airman Warner, have you ever skinned anything? I was just like, well, besides chicken, no. And he's like, come on up here and skin this rabbit. So I was like, and they're like, okay, she knows what she's doing. I'm like, I haven't done it before, but hey. But it was good. So it was one of those, best times in life. Oh, and I could have, so when we were out in the middle of the Washington State woods, we went up this hill, and my partner was in front of me. He was a ways in front of me, and we came up the hill, and behind me I heard, and I was just like, and I just took off running. So it could have been Bigfoot, or it could have been a bear, but it didn't chase me, so I'm thinking it was Bigfoot. No. I haven't gotten confirmation if it was or not, but
Interesting. So you still never really answered the question of how you went from all the dreams and stuff to being interested in the paranormal and Bigfoot and all the stuff that you're doing now.
oh, well, just I had things would happen that it was like, oh, I knew about that beforehand, and then it started to get more obvious that I was knowing things beforehand. So I was like, okay, it's time. I need to start learning how to honing in on some of my skills and learning how to do this. So I've seen 3 ghosts that I know of in my life. I don't normally see them. One of them was corporeal, and the other one was like a wisp, and then the other one was corporeal. So, and then I've seen, I was on a paranormal investigation with Christina Bloom, and she was making something leave this restaurant, and I used to get migraines a lot, and I would get auras, and I couldn't see it, but I saw like this shimmering aura of it leaving. So
Interesting. Very interesting. I don't
Oh,
think
that's
I've had the chance to actually go on an actual investigation with Christina. So
it was good.
very
It
cool.
was good. It was part of so I took her intuitive view course. I took on via Zoom was the first course 1, and then course 2 we met in Escanaba, and part of her training was she takes us on a paranormal investigation. And that was more affirmation for me, because when we walked in, we were walking around, they were showing us around, and in my own mind voice, I heard Anthony. And then later on, we were sitting around the bar, and there was somebody sitting at the bar, and Christina was asking him, you know, what'd you do here? I was a customer. What's your name? And I said, Anthony. And she turned around and looked at me because she can hear him. And she said, Tony. So I heard when I first walked in next to where he was sitting, I heard Anthony. And then we were in the back more restaurant-y part. And there was a girl there. And I saw, like in the light, I saw a W, and I said Wanda, but her name was Wendy. And again, this is from Christina, verbally heard her say, no, my name's Wendy, but I got the W. So, I got a couple names at that investigation. We had there were some ducks, and we put a couple ducks out, and one of them, when we were walking around, we came back, no one was in that room. We came, and the duck was moved. So I was like, hey, someone moved the duck, and we didn't catch it. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very cool. Awesome. That's two interesting little ducks. All right. Well, we are at the end of our hour here. Anybody have any last minute questions for Leigh? Throw them in the comments section. Otherwise, Leigh, where are you going to be? Where can people find you? You're going to be at CapCon coming up here.
I'm going to be at
May.
CapCon, and I'm going to meet a Bigfoot, and then I can be on Monsters on the Edge. I almost said
You can't even remember the name of my show. I feel bad that I don't remember the name of my show. You can't either.
Well, I was going to say Monday Morning Monsters, but I
That's
knew
right.
I was like, that's wrong. Monsters on the Edge. Oh, and then really, and then I had other messages told me that I had something I needed to say to people. So what I needed to say, that I said at the beginning, was if you've had an experience and it's bothering you, try to forgive and let go of it and move on. It's in the past. You can't do anything about it. All just say, okay, that happened to me, and move on from it. Don't dwell on it, because I know people have more memories and PTSD, and they remember bad things happening to them. And I'm sorry that happened to you, but there's nothing we can do about it now. So just try and move on from it, and pray to God, pray to your spirit guides, ask for help that it won't happen to you anymore. And then, so sorry, I wanted to make sure I got that out there.
Yeah.
Again, because that's the main purpose of being on here, is to hopefully help. But I'm also and I just realized it's it's backwards. I didn't mirror it. But so I will also be going with Scott and Hannah Violet when they're in Wisconsin after CapsCon. We're going to be out of the Fallen Outdoors, which is a nationwide group that helps veterans take them out hunting, fishing, other things like that. Scott actually does a Bigfoot research group, and so we'll be going out in up north. If you're from Wisconsin, that's any place, north of where you live is up north. So we'll be going out to an area where I was camping, and just by accident, I found a bunch of stick structures once I knew what they were. And so we're going to be going to that area, spending 3 nights there with a group of 13 veterans with me and Scott. It will be 15 veterans, and Hannah will be there, plus their plus ones. Hopefully some people from CAPS will be joining us also, but we're going to be investigating that area. It's at the end of May, so hopefully not too many people have already camped there and scared any clans that might be out there away, but we're gonna, look for evidence. Scott's going to teach us a lot, being an anthropologist, about, things to look for. We're also going to go over survival techniques again and stuff like that. And it's going to be veterans. And the main reason of the Fallen Outdoors is to stop the 22, which there's 22 veterans that kill themselves every day, unfortunately. So Scott has a lot of stories about his other expeditions he has been on, where one person had said that they were going to go camping and not come back, but then this came up and he decided to go camping with the Fallen Outdoors and Scott instead, and he's still with us. So it's, just to even stop the one that might be thinking about that. And if you are, there are helplines for veterans that if you are going through anything that can help you with that, don't do it. Just don't do it. No, just kidding. There's help for you. If you're feeling low, just, do that. Okay, 5 minutes, next 5 minutes. 5 minutes from now, will this pass? 5 weeks from now, will this pass? Yes. 5 years from now, definitely yes. So it's, it's a heartfelt thing to. I'm sorry if you heard that. But yeah, it's just one of the things that's available to you to help. There is a veteran helpline, and I'm just looking around my space and I don't see anything that has it on there. Otherwise, I would have been a better sponsor of that. But I've gotten some corporate sponsors for the veterans. So I have like a little survival bag for them, or Bigfoot hunting bag. But yeah, so I'll be doing that. And then also I'll be doing in Adams, I'll be doing a CE5 camperoo in Adams, Wisconsin. I'm also doing, sorry. Sorry, I wasn't ready for this. Oh, I'm going to a veterans powwow in August, so that will be fun. It'll be my first powwow that I go to. But just lots of camping. There's 2. The Wisconsin Bigfoot group has 2 camping excursions this year. I'll be going to the one in May for sure at Pine Woods in the southern Kettle Moraine, which, if you know Barnaby does, Jay Buchochin. And I don't know how close it is to where he goes, but it's sort of in that general area. And of course, there's Bigfoot sighting and everything in that area. So
There you go.
Oh. Yep. Yes, octopus. Yes, octo. I'm doing my pre-work spiritually prepared to do the job I'm supposed to do. So, but it's fun, and sorry, I just lost.
That's okay. After Leigh gets off the show today, as she does her research and stuff, she will send me the phone number as well as stuff for the veterans support, and we will put that
Yes.
in the show notes for everyone that is watching after the fact or on any of our podcast platforms. So that information will be in the show notes, as well as information on the Fallen Outdoors that you guys, if you are a veteran, you can get involved in that and go on some of those expeditions or hunting or camping or all the stuff that they do.
Yep.
As well as
Fishing.
if you're not a veteran, you can reach out and help support them, because I'm sure that they could use some donations or volunteering and stuff like that. So we'll get that all in the show notes for you, and you guys can check that out down below. So,
And don't forget to hit the like,
subscribe, and share. That's right.
Subscribe and share.
Awesome.
But my next big event that's happening is the Wisconsin CAPS convention, and I'm really looking forward to that. I am going on the Bigfoot hike Friday night and the VIP dinner. And I'll be listening to all of the wonderful speakers that Barnaby has lined up, learning, awesome. Shopping, and I'll be camping that weekend. So, are you
camping in the vicinity of the hike?
No, okay. I'm going to be. Wondering. Yeah,
because no one else.
When I booked my campsite, I didn't know where it was.
Right.
But I'll be at the High Cliff State Park, which is
that's right.
close to Appleton.
Not really.
So not really. But hey.
High Cliff is not close to Appleton.
It's not?
I don't think it is. No, I don't think it is at all.
It's around the lake. I mean, it was the closest campground that I saw to it, because I like going camping. I have a camper. His name is Hank the Tank. So, and it's more comfortable than a hotel.
And what is this little guy's name?
This is Rocket.
Awesome.
Rocket,
we have to have the cats on the show if they're there, as we've learned from past episodes. Pets are always involved to be guests on the shows. So. Awesome. All right, guys. Well, we are here. We are at the end of the show. Thank you guys all for listening. And if you want to meet Leigh in person, as I know all of you do, you guys can come out and check out her and her little octopus friend at a bunch of events this year. So
yes,
awesome, Leigh. I look forward to hanging out with you very soon and chatting again. So
thank you for having me on. Sorry I sort of faded at the end.
It's all right. It's all right. It's very good.
Well, you told me not to talk about Bigfoot, so
I didn't tell you not to talk about Bigfoot.
Oh, okay.
I didn't tell you that.
Well, I have Bigfoot stories, but that can wait until I'm on Monsters on the Edge.
There you go. You have to have all kinds of fun this coming month, and we'll have a whole conversation then. So there you go. All right.
And thank you.
You're very welcome. Thanks for coming on. I will talk to you later. Have a good day, Leigh.
You too.
All right, guys, that is our show for this week. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it and learned something and had some fun. For all of you guys that are interested in the Fallen Outdoors group, will have that in the show notes. It is in the comments section right now, the link for that, but we will put that in the show notes as well for you guys listening after the fact and not live, as well as some other helpful information for our veteran friends and listeners out there. So until next time, guys, thank you for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share all things here on the Untold Radio Network and, oops, not me, Cryptids, Anomalies, and the Paranormal Society. My screen is backwards. I don't know which side I'm pointing at. Until next time, guys, remember, we are all part of the Paranormal Spectrum. Take care, be well, and I'll see you next week.
You seem to know